Hi, and welcome back. We are the Podcast Wreckers. When I say we, I just mean me. I am the Podcast Wreckers today. I'm Adam Aragon, and I'll be your host. And today I have a very special guest. I'll be interviewing Chris Spiteri, who is over here. She is an aerialist and a really awesome person. Say hi.
Hey.
So yeah, if I had to, describe you to a friend in like a few sentences, what would I say?
What would you say? Right now, at least, most of my energy and life is focused on being an aerial instructor. I'm based out of Oakland, California, and I'd like to think I'm an interesting person. Wow, describing yourself is very strange.
You're doing great. You can compliment yourself, like smart and pretty. It's fine.
This is what I wanted you to describe me. That was better.
Oh, all right. Yeah, it does sound better if I compliment you. Anyway, I think I've seen you do aerialist stuff many a time, and absolutely fantastic. Some of the best I've ever seen.
Aw, thank you.
And so you're teaching that now, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how you got into that.
Well, I started taking aerial classes when I moved to the Bay about 12 years ago. And my first aerial instructor had to leave. She got pregnant and she was like, gotta go do that thing, make a family. And they were looking for someone to replace her. And sort of on a whim, I was like, I've taught dance before. I could maybe teach circus. And then that one class a week turned into like 2 classes a week. And then 2 classes a week turned into basically having another job where I was teaching pretty much all weekend, every weekend. And
is that while you had a 9-to-5 too?
Yeah, I had a 9-to-5 at the time. And
if I recall correctly, I think you were doing some scientist stuff. I don't know if you were mad or not, but I know it was scientist.
Depends on the day whether or not I was mad. But I was a scientist. I was working on government contracts for 5 years as a microscopist. So I was in the lab from like 7 o'clock in the morning until 3 or 4 p.m. And then I would go to the gym and then I would teach classes and then I would also perform. And it turns out that 3 full-time jobs is at least 1 too many.
Yep.
So
not if you live in San Francisco or New York, but apparently everywhere else, yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up leaving the science job to teach circus full-time. I've been doing that for like 7 years. And
so
I'm a better person.
You're a better person? Are you a happier person?
I'm a much happier person.
Well, so I'm curious about that. Like, so you came from this science background. Like, how much training did you have to go that direction?
I have 2 undergrad degrees, one in forensic science and one in criminology. I got them simultaneously, so nice. 4 years of undergrad. 4 very intense years of undergrad.
Sounds intense, yeah. Would you double major, right?
Yeah. And then I worked for about a year as a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. And then I moved out here and got my job as microscopist. Most of the rest of the training was sort of on the job.
And I'm going to assume the chemist part is just your Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's 100% what I was doing.
Just making meth, shooting people
all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, no, everything I say for legal reasons is not true. I'm gonna pull in some bad attention. We're getting a lot of meth heads listening to the show.
Strange.
But yeah, I mean, you obviously like you went through a lot to like get into the realm of science, and then just decided like this isn't for you, or
Um,
just that the other option was better.
I I got into forensics mostly to help people. I specialized in crime scene investigation. I wanted to help victims of crime, and in the process of getting into that world a little bit and doing other things in the science world, I just found that the system is so broken that no matter how well I did my job, it didn't necessarily mean that the person who I thought deserved help was going to get it. And at that time, Trump also got elected. So the idea of working on government
Hooray!
for a system that I already didn't trust and then really, really didn't trust
Yeah, right.
super didn't fly with me. I didn't feel like I was contributing positively to the world at all. And at the time, I was teaching circus classes a couple a week, and I would watch my students come into class and leave feeling better. They felt more clear headed, they felt stronger, they were doing things they never thought possible. So,
Excited, I'm sure.
yeah, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people feel better. I want to help people do cool stuff. So I jumped ship.
All right. So, like switching gears, we talked about your background in getting into science. What about your background in getting into Aerealist? You said you have a background in dance as well. Like, is that like formal training or?
Yeah, I started as a belly dancer in college. So I did that for a number of years. And then when I moved out here, there's a lot of crossover between dance and circus. Mostly, I was looking to get stronger so that I could be a better dancer. And sort of on a whim, Googled circus classes. I had no idea how much was available here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, surprising amount of circus shenanigans, right?
Yeah, all sorts. And started taking classes, and it really was like I started taking one class a week. One class became two. Two classes was two classes and then a private lesson. And then I was performing, and then I was teaching, and now I pay my bills doing it.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I like I said, I've seen your work. For those of you that haven't, Chris has her own website. I'll put the name up here for the video, but I believe it's chrisspiteri.com.
That's it.
And that's a mouthful to spell. So it will be in the description down below, and I'll put it on the screen so people know that they can go to your website, check you out, possibly book you, that kind of thing.
That would be awesome.
So you're doing like public performances as well as teaching, right? Still?
I do still perform. I perform less than I teach. There are just only so many hours in the day, it turns out.
I never noticed.
Right? But I do love it. I love performing. I don't just perform aerials, I also perform burlesque. And as you know, I think one of my very first videos of me spinning fire was one that you took.
Yes, and yeah, that's another thing to add to your circusy repertoire is fire spinning, right? Like, what was your thing? Was it poi or staff or which one was you?
Fans for me.
Oh, fans. That's right. Yeah, I remember the fans now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Besides aerialist jumping and frolicking, you also do fans that are on fire.
Yep.
So yeah, that's I'm good at booking guests. I'm just saying. I do. I look for interesting people who have interesting stories, and obviously I have to pull from my friends list here. So here you are. But yeah, I think it really is interesting. We had an episode a couple episodes ago. We interviewed my friend Kevin, and he went from being a prison guard to working security at a certain giant media conglomerate with a mouse.
I see.
And so yeah, I basically went from working with like hardened criminals to children, like. And yeah, I found that like arc interesting.
That's
Um,
quite the jump.
yeah. So do you feel like you'll ever go back into the science world, or are you just kind of disillusioned now?
I think I'm pretty disillusioned, and I like using science in my teaching. I like looking up research. I like looking up research-based teaching methods and physical training methods. So I still use science in those ways, but actually doing it as a full-time job. I, one, don't know if I could do this like starting somewhere between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning ever again, because now I'm spoiled.
I feel you. Ever since I went remote, it's just impossible to think about going in an office now. Like,
Yeah. And then, working in like a lab under fluorescent lights or something.
I'm
Like,
sure
no
you
way,
looked
man.
great because
Oh,
everyone
Johnny.
does. You get that weird scientist tan, which is the exact opposite of a tan. You get whitened.
It's not a good look for anyone.
So yeah, you said yeah, you moved to the Bay quite a while ago. Where did you come from originally?
I grew up in New York, just outside of New York City. And then I went to college in West Virginia, which was a trip.
It's a big swing to the left there.
It sure was. And then I moved to the Bay, which I thought I would be here for like 4-ish years and then be done with it. It's been 12.
Well, I'm glad you're there, but I do see that you're talking about potentially going to New Orleans.
That's the plan, hoping to
So,
relocate this year.
so what is the appeal and drive to New Orleans?
I am desperately in love with that city.
It is
Even
pretty cool.
even before I actually visited, something about it really called to me. And one of the things I feel like is happening in the Bay here is the bar to entry for art is just getting higher and higher. You have to have so much money or so much time. And if you're doing any kind of art professionally, you probably don't have one or either of those things because you're hustling so hard and still not making enough money. And in New Orleans, I feel like anyone can find accessible art. People are just like playing music in the street all the time, and there are
Um,
things happening all over the place. So I feel art there is more accessible, and the cost of living is a lot lower than the Bay.
um, how is the cost of living down there? Is it like drastically less? Like,
From what I know of it, it is drastically less.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure you're coming from like one of the most expensive places you could possibly be.
having grown up in New York and now living in San Francisco Bay Area is like
Yeah.
anything else is cheaper, pretty much.
How many times have you been to New Orleans?
I've visited 3 times.
So I have a cool New Orleans story actually. A couple of them. But I'll try not to like own this whole hour. Um, but yeah, so I went to Mardi Gras for I went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. And this is probably I want to say like the year before Katrina.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it was like before things got kind of, you know, dire. They were still celebrating and everything, but like, it was a rough couple years there for Louisiana. Um, but it was before all that, so it was just like regular, like every year Mardi Gras, go go go. And I was going cross country with a friend of mine. We literally had no plans to go. We didn't even know it was happening until we were like in Texas. And we were heading to New York. And so, but he's like, dude, it's Mardi Gras. Do you want to like go there? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, but let's go. And so we just drove into town and immediately got into a line of cars that took like 8 hours to get into the city.
Oh my god.
Like
That's crazy.
moving at like a walking pace the whole time. So like I think we spent like from noon to 8 p.m. the first day just like driving in.
That's brutal.
And so and then we go in and we're there like on Bourbon Street and we're looking around for a hotel, and the first couple ones we found like literally just laughed at us. They were just like, oh, no. Like you and so we went to this really upscale fancy place, and they said we have one room left. And we said, oh great, we'll take it. And so we went from the hotel that we were at. We had called them and they said, yeah, we have one room. So we ran over there to go get it. And we showed up and said, hey, we just were told there's a room. We put our name on it and everything, like we booked it. And they're like, we don't have a booking for you. And I'm like, I just called an hour ago, like, and they're like, oh yeah, I think you got bumped. And I was like, okay, like what the hell? Yeah. And so I like literally I put it in like a reservation for the room, and they approved it. And then when I got there, they're like, we have no room. And I'm like, okay, this isn't cool. And so like we thought about it and we're like, well shit, like if we have to leave, like do you know how the nightmare of traffic we just went through, like we'd have to go back through that. So we decided, so we started arguing with them basically like, dude, you guys got to like make good on this. And they're like, we just don't have any more rooms. We don't have any more rooms. And I'm like, we'll take a janitor's closet. Like, we don't care. Like, we need something. And after about 20 minutes, after about 20 minutes of heated yelling, they brought out the manager, and he said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you guys in the executive ballroom. It's got a couch in there, and that's the only bedding. So we'll make you a bed on the floor, and we'll make you a bed on the couch for the two of you. There is a shower in there, and we'll have the maids like bring blankets and all that stuff. Will that work? And we were just like, yes, fine, great. We'll sleep on the floor. And so finally, with that squared away, we was like, okay, let's go get fucked up. And we did. But yeah, anyway, and then fun twist, the next day they said, oh, we actually did have a room open up, and we're like, oh great. So they moved us to a real room, and then they came to us and said, well, to rent the executive ballroom for a night is
what?
And I'm like, we didn't like host an event there. We slept on a couch.
On your couch.
So big argument sprouted up again, back and forth. We're like, dude, we're not paying that. Like, and then they finally bumped it to like 300 or something like that, but it's still something outrageous for like sleeping on a floor and a couch in a big empty room.
Wow.
But anyway, so I won't go into a whole Mardi Gras shenanigans, but it was super fun. I saw someone get drunk and punch a horse. I saw like 14-year-old kids projectile vomiting.
Next level right there.
Yeah, a lot of boobs. That was fun.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, and
me too.
Yeah, good. But yeah, actually, so the next day was more interesting though. So we got up, a little hungover and like, tired, and we decided like, well, we want to go see the town. Like, we're not just going to hang out on Bourbon Street. Like, we're going to go travel around. And so my friend was a fan of jazz, and we looked into some jazz spots. And there's like, there's a laundromat that's like the first jazz recording studio, but now it's a laundromat. But they still have like the recording studio stuff on the wall. And so that was pretty cool.
That sounds
awesome. We go down to like this area where the jazz like kind of district, is, and we just start kind of trolling around, and we step into this coffee shop, and this beautiful like 6'6" black male model guy, like is the only person working, and he looks like just out of a movie. You're just like, damn. Like I turned a little gay like right then, and and so yeah, we're just like, wow, you're striking. Then he told me, it's like, this is his cafe, that he was a male model, and that he came from the modeling world, made a good amount of money, bought a cafe in New Orleans because he loves the city, and so we just get to talking, and there's like places empty because everyone is hungover and no one even goes out until like 5 p.m. or something like that. So we have like the whole afternoon to kill and no one around. So literally no other customers come into this place. We talk to him for like 20 minutes. And then he says, oh, hey, you guys got to check out next door. There's the Voodoo Temple. And we're like, oh, awesome. So we go there. He introduces us to like the voodoo priestess lady, and she gives us a tour, and like he's with us now, and like he just shuts down the store and comes with us. And then after she gives us a tour and we talk to her for a while, she was really interesting. And she said, oh, you guys have to meet John or whatever. And we're like, okay. So then they take us out the back door. And it turns out multiple buildings all face into one big atrium.
Yeah.
And there were apartments back there that were refurbished slave quarters.
Whoa.
Like, and they looked like, from that era. uh, so I thought that was really interesting. But anyway, so this guy came out who is a jazz trumpeter. And he's like, oh yeah, you met so and so and so and so. We're like, yeah, and every time we met someone new, the other ones introduced us like we were old friends, like.
Like one of my favorite things about that city. Everyone wants to know you, everyone wants to be friendly, and it is exactly like that, where it's like, now you have to meet this other person. Oh, I'm going to a party. Come with me tonight and meet 25 of my other friends.
Yeah, everyone was super nice, and like the jazz trumpeter ended up playing trumpet for us literally for like 20 minutes.
That's so
And
cool.
he's like in a band and everything, like, and he gave us like a couple of his CDs and stuff. And yeah, I just remember walking out of that whole experience being like, wow, like what the hell just happened? Like we just tripped and fell into like more and more crazy, interesting stuff, And like in the course of like 3 hours, we'd like shut down a cafe, toured a voodoo temple, met a jazz trumpeter, and then we all had like tea outside an atrium. Like it was super cool.
Some
And
serious Alice in Wonderland stuff going on there.
yeah, so yeah, totally, that like mind blown. Like I was very enchanted with New Orleans. And I tried all the food. What's your stance on gumbo and po' boys?
Po' boys are fine. I feel like I'm still on the hunt for like the one that blows my mind. I love gumbo and jambalaya though.
Oh, okay.
Also, when we were there last in October, oysters were in season, and I can eat oysters by the bucket full. So that was excellent.
Let me know when you can come to Vegas. I my wife here, she really loves oysters, and she got me into it as well. And so we've been trolling and looking at these couple places, and we just found this brand new seafood place called Legends. And yeah, just amazing. Like every kind of seafood, crab, lobster, shrimp, and oysters. And so yeah, we had a great time. Anyway, but yeah, visit Vegas. I'll feed you oysters.
I love it. I'm there.
Let's not interpret that to be weird. All right.
That's fine.
So yeah, you mentioned like you want to move there later this year, you said?
Yep. Hoping to do some event work over the summer and some travel, go back to New York, visit some family, and then I work seasonally for Burning Man, and then after Burning Man, drive out to New Orleans.
We keep getting these little tidbits of trivia about you that are like a whole story on their own, I'm sure. Yeah, I remember you doing some of the like, what do you call it? Like assembly for stuff for Burning Man. Like I remember you working on that at some point. You were putting together like a huge sculpture thing or vehicle or something.
I used to work on some honorarium art projects. And then in 2019, I was working for Center Camp Cafe at Burning Man. And then Burning Man killed the cafe. So there's no more coffee shop at Center Camp in Burning Man.
Why did they kill it?
That's a great question.
Okay.
No. I think some of it is definitely part of the perspective is that it wasn't really in line with the decommodification tenant of Burning Man, which I get. It's cool. That's fine. R.I.P. coffee.
What's the craziest thing you saw or did at Burning Man?
Ooh,
any year,
Any year. I don't know if this is the craziest, but my favorite Burning Man moment was actually that year working at Center Camp Coffee. And I was on shift and someone came up with a box. I was like, okay,
like you do
right now? Thanks for the box. And they were like, well, I found this box at one of the tables. Okay. They're like, well, you should open the box.
Is it a human head? Because I've seen this movie.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what kind of severed hand or something is going to be in this box?
They're full of spiders or eyeballs or something. Yeah. Anyway.
So I'm super tense and I'm like, okay. And I open the box and there is a note inside that says, please let daddy buy you a coffee. And there is a fatty stack of cash.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It was like $1,000 in cash.
Wait, so a random person came up and gave you a box with $1,000 in it just to like, here you go, like.
Yeah, and according to them, they found it on some table. So someone else.
So it wasn't even like someone bringing a gift. They literally just found a thing and gave it to you.
They found the thing and they were like, I think that this should be back here so no one takes it and it can actually be used for people to get coffee.
Yeah.
And we had a system there where you could pay it forward. So you could pay extra for your coffee and then like the next person in line would basically get free coffee. You already paid for it. So
what if they want to pay it forward? Doesn't it just go on this endless loop of paying full price?
Eventually, usually someone takes the gift though.
Yeah, someone has to be the greedy one. That's okay.
And that Sunday, everyone got free coffee on Daddy.
On Daddy. Are you Daddy in this scenario? I'm just being curious.
I don't have $1,000 to just hand out to strangers, so I am not Daddy.
But I bet you can be a daddy.
I sure can.
So yeah, I think you mentioned that you're going to do like online content and online workshops and stuff like that. Is that like because you're transitioning to a new place and you don't necessarily have a customer base there, I assume?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I have quite a few really dedicated students here in the Bay who want to keep working with me. So I'm going to offer private lessons through Zoom. And then I'm also hoping to just be able to travel more and also perform more, but I also need steady income. And so I'm hoping to offer courses online that people can purchase and then download and just have access to it to train on their own. And something the pandemic did for aerial arts is a lot more people ended up getting portable aerial rigs in their own space so they can practice at home more. So there's a bigger market for it, I hope.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm trying to think here. We were talking about fire and stuff like that. I did find a fire spinning group here in Vegas. You know, like they have the like weekly ones in Oakland and stuff. There's a weekly one here.
Cool.
So I've been recovering from an injury, so I haven't been able to actually go. So I get the notifications like every week about this thing, and I'm like, okay, I really got to go and check this out. I haven't done it yet. But what I'm segueing into here is I don't know what the scene is like in Vegas for like circus. You know, I mean, there's Cirque du Soleil, obviously, and like a lot of like really talented people here. But yeah, have you ever looked into performing in Vegas?
I haven't looked into performing in Vegas. Well, Vegas is like so competitive and has such top-notch talent. I don't know that I could compete. I feel like anyone who performs in Vegas probably started when they were like 5.
I remember I met a dancer from the Donnie and Marie Osmond show. This is before I moved to Vegas. I was visiting Vegas, so I was just there, like, you know, to kind of party and drink and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, we met this adorable gay guy who ended up being like a dancer in a show, like a live like Broadway show, you know. And we're like, oh wow, that's so cool. And so we just got to talking with this guy, and like I think we talked like from like 9 p.m. to like 3 a.m. Wow. We like shut down this bar. And yeah, by the end of it, we were all just like hugging and shit, like, okay, we're never gonna speak again, but we're best friends. Yeah.
Yay.
But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
If
you do have a friend in Vegas who has a guest room and everything.
Cool. Well, I'd definitely love to come visit. And
Yeah.
if I had the chance to perform, I'd super be down. But
You
I'd
could perform in the living room if all else fails.
really awesome. Spitfire in the living room. Got it.
Yeah, you'd like the you'd like my new place. It's got like a big open space. The whole bottom floor is like kitchen, living room, dining room, and all the bedrooms are upstairs. So it's just the whole floor plan down below is like huge and open.
That's
Um,
awesome.
you could totally like do dangerous stuff in there. Um,
We
run around.
if it's
Um, yeah, you mentioned that you like to help people and especially women be like healthier, more confident, stronger, that kind of thing. Do you have like a success story in that regard of someone that you've seen like come out of their shell or that had a real turning point with you?
um I think a lot of times there are a lot of little successes in classes. Just people come in all the time and they're like, well, I don't know. I don't think I'm strong enough. Like, just keep coming to class. Like, you will get stronger. Keep coming to class. Um, I myself could not climb silks at all when I first started. It probably took me a month of classes
Yeah, it's
to
basically
be,
doing pull-ups, right? Like just
yeah, exactly. And I couldn't do a single climb. And now, like, I make my living teaching this stuff. So I tell people all the time that they can do it too. And I think one of my favorite success stories, a student of mine who really like changed my life. Her name was Kathy. She passed away a couple of years ago. And
sorry to hear that.
thank you. She was 74 when she passed away.
Wow.
And she would call me and be like, are you going to circus class today? Like,
Was she doing circus stuff? Was she doing aerial?
yeah, she was taking 3 classes a week.
Wow.
She was training on rope with me. And one of the things that is sort of considered foundational but is really difficult is an inversion, which basically just means going upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're holding all of your body weight on your hands and then you go upside down. So you have to pull and then you have to push, and there's all sorts of craziness that has to happen. And Kathy struggled for years. And she was like, I go to other classes and I get ignored because I can't do inversions, and I don't know that I'll ever be able to do it. And I was like, fuck all that BS that people tell you, Kathy. We're going to get you upside down.
Come on, Kathy. We're going to invert.
And she did. She did end up doing her own inversion in the air, unsupported, all the way. And it was
like age 70, no less, or something, right?
Yeah. She was already like 74 years old when it happened. And
oh my God.
yeah.
That's kind of incredible.
It's one of my favorite stories to tell because people tell me all the time that they're not strong enough or they're too old. And I'm like, well, get this.
Well, from what I hear, like the key to like living longer is to exercise, right? Like, and so people that do exercise, like even when they're 70, 80 years old, like tend to just do better, like be more cognitively clear, be more physically fit, and like, can live fuller lives. I just saw this article about this guy who's like, I want to say he's like 93. And he's like a rowing champion.
Whoa.
Like he got into like competitive rowing. And he just started out using a rowing machine to just like have something to do. And he got passionate about it and he got into it, and he's like got a couple records under him and stuff. And the dude's 93, like, and he's super fit. Like the reason the article is about him is like, how is this even possible? Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's just like an alien anomaly or just goes to show. And I think what he said is like he didn't start doing the rowing thing until he was like 75.
Wow.
So he had never done it before he started at 75, and at 93 the guy's still doing it and like winning championships and stuff, like
Yes,
awards.
love this so much.
So yeah, I think it's old people are fun and cute.
I think it's important for us to hear these stories. Like, I don't know, somehow we get it in our heads that we're supposed to already know everything or know what we like or already be doing the things that we like. Or if you didn't start when you were 20, you're never going to be good enough. And it's like, I mean, I don't know about you, and maybe it won't happen, but my plan is to live more than 20 years past now. So I could get a couple decades under my belt if I started something brand new today.
Yeah, and yeah, it's never too late, right?
Yeah.
Plenty of famous people have gotten their start when they were 40, 50, 60 and on.
Totally.
And I think that's inspiring. I I wonder if I'll ever get around to doing aerial, but
Well, if I come visit, I hear there are great places to train in Vegas, and we can go
you go
get to
scoping
hang
out.
upside down from the ceiling.
I'll just dangle and scrape on the floor, face down. Not doing because I'm doing a trick, just because something went terribly wrong.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you were there. I think you were there the first time I spun fire. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, I think it was at what's the name of that place we used to go to originally? Was it Death Trap?
At the trap, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, that was super cool. That was my foray. Like, it's funny how I tripped into that was through our mutual friend Bob. He's lives in the same town I did, and I was just coming out of a divorce, and I was like, really just like, I want to get out of town and I want to do something new. And we started talking, and he's like, yeah, I think you'd like, fire, like spinning or poi or staff. And I was like, staff, I've thought about staff before, and I like would like to do it. And so he showed me a couple basics. I got into it, and then I like made him take me to Oakland, and he just like jumped me in there, and yeah, I just started going there. I think I was like every week for like a year.
I love it.
And I remember I practiced for 6 months before I actually lit anything on fire, because I wanted to make absolutely sure that I wasn't going to hit myself in the face with the staff.
This is really smart, and more people should do that.
I just like, because you're practicing, right? Like, and you're learning how, and so like I would often just clip myself in the jaw or like the forehead or something like that, and I'm like, this can't happen. Like,
most of learning how to spin a prop is just hitting yourself in the face all the time.
Until you learn to not.
Oh, did you know you could light that on fire?
Yeah, well, what could go wrong? But yeah, I'm a big fan. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what else you got going on here. You said you want to build workshops that focus on aerial arts as a way of healing and building connection with ourselves and others. Tell me more about that. Like, is this kind of like a spiritual endeavor, or is this just like a kind of mind-body thing? Like, what's your approach on that?
Definitely more of a mind-body thing for me. I have found for myself and for students over the years, just aerials is really intense. Like, when you are doing a bunch of stuff upside down and suddenly right is left and down is up, and you have to be so focused on what's happening and your own body, it allows you space from all of the other stuff going on just in your life. You walk into class, and whether it's the fight with your partner or something that happened at work or whatever it is, you get to put it aside and just be in your own body and be with yourself for however long that class is. And I think that and in combination with a sort of mindfulness practice of being really in the moment can be super beneficial to people in more than just the physical realm, which is what we think a lot about in aerials, is the physically getting stronger. But I think it allows for a lot of mental healing. I think it allows for people to have a better relationship with their bodies. I think especially for women, which we're often told we're too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short. You're like, cool, no one is ever good enough.
Well, you're too pretty and you're too cool.
Oh.
Just so you know. No, it's excessive. Stop it. Tone it down. Draw on some age marks or something like that. No, I'm really just like honing in here on this healing concept. Like, do you have an example of someone like kind of getting some emotional catharsis from this? I mean, you mentioned like the lady who obviously had a breakthrough, but like when it comes to aerial arts being a way of healing, like can you talk more about that?
Yeah. I found a lot of healing through aerial arts myself. Um, I was in an abusive relationship in the past, and in getting out of that, I didn't trust myself. I was having a hard time taking care of myself in a lot of ways. And being able to progress in aerials, because I felt physically stronger, I also was able to feel mentally stronger and feel like I was capable again and I could protect myself. And another big component of that was the community that I built around aerials. For me, it was mostly my students in my classes, but they like showed up with food when I couldn't cook for myself. They were like, "Here, we want to make sure you eat," and they'd like come with like bags of groceries for me. Um,
That's
and
sweet.
there's this beautiful bond and connection that happens when we have a safe space to walk into. And I usually start my class with a little bit of a check-in. How's everyone doing? And sometimes hard stuff is happening in life, and we all get to be
Does
there.
it really?
Yeah, imagine.
I've lived a charmed life, free of worry or incident.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've all struggled with something, and in this space we get to come together and talk about it a little, and then focus on a common goal and push ourselves physically. And there's something about being in that environment that helps us heal and helps us get past those things. And I'm hoping in the future to do some more research into this sort of mind-body connection. Having a science background, though, it's hard to find what I feel is good science.
Yeah, right. It's an obscure area.
Yeah. So if anyone listening out there has some great resources, whether it's on somatic therapy or other ways of thinking about the mind-body connection and using physical activity to move through trauma, I would love to know.
I do have a friend who I am planning to interview, who has a background expertise in nervous system rebalancing, holistic wellness, somatic trauma release, and inner child healing.
Hey, that's the stuff.
Yeah, so I have a friend who that's her jam.
Awesome. I'd love to get connected.
Yeah, that's my friend Daisy, and I'm happy to put you in touch. But
Cool.
yeah, I think she said she's going to visit Vegas soon. But I've known her, God, since middle school, high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm having her on the show. I will be sure to make sure I send that to you, and I'll try to put you guys in touch too, because it sounds like you have some overlap there.
Awesome. Thank
in
you
a
so
cool
much.
way. So yeah, I know that you don't normally do interviews, so I like, what were you expecting? What were you fearing? Like what was on your mind when you thought about doing
Oh God.
this?
That I'd have nothing to say. That sounds terrifying.
Yep.
Or that it was gonna be like being interviewed on a cop show. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Where are the drugs? seriously could use some drugs. Just let me know where they're at. Tone changed entirely. Yeah, I wonder about that too. Like, we get together and BS like once a week, and I there's times where I'm just like, what if we run out of shit to say?
I'm glad it's not just me being scared about it then.
Yeah, and if you listen to any of our previous episodes, it's clear that we have times that have run out of shit to say, yet kept going. But it's
then maybe I don't want to know.
But yeah, I think as long as the people are interesting and there's like good conversation, like it's all really it comes down to, right? Is just like kind of talking, but like in a presentation way.
Sure.
Because I'm finding out all the stuff about you I would find out if you and I just sat down one-on-one and talked about like what's new with you and all that. But I get to do it in the form of an interview, and now it seems cool and professional.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we've touched on a lot of topics, but like, yeah, is there any other hobbies, projects, things of interest going on in your life?
Hobbies or projects? Most of my time is definitely spent doing circus related things. Other than that, though, I also run a community live workspace called the Dreamery. And I've been running that for 6 years.
I think I've seen pictures.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool space. I've got aerial rigging in my living room, which is dope.
Yeah, that makes it a certain type of tenant, but an interesting one.
It's true. But we're mostly a bunch of queer creative weirdos trying to make it in the Bay.
That's a great band name.
Yeah, queer creative weirdos.
Yeah, and the album is Making It in the Bay.
Making it in the Bay.
So get on that. But no, sorry, go on. Tell me about your collective.
I will let the house know during our next house meeting that we've now started a band and what our first album title will be.
Love it. So is this like a community, commune, collective? Like how do you describe it? Is it a cult? Do you have to shave your head? Do they all have to sleep with you? Like, what's the rule?
We have some ex-cult members here. We are not
kidding. Is that true?
I would say we're mostly a community live workspace, and part of the reason is because I'm really busy with a lot of stuff, and the like crunchy Berkeley hippie collective is not my style.
Not your version of hippie.
Not my version. It's too involved with like house meals every day and that kind of stuff. So we're a little more chill about it. Mostly we just all live together. We want a peaceful living space where we can also do some cool stuff. Like we host an event called Queer Bedtime Stories here.
Do tell.
Queer Bedtime Stories happens once a month, and it's on the fourth Monday of every month here at the Dreamery.
And this is all in Oakland, right?
It's all in Oakland, yeah. And you can find Queer Bedtime Stories on Instagram.
Nice.
And it's this night where a bunch of people come over, and it's sort of open mic style where queer literature is shared, and some of it is original works, and some of it, Scott, who runs the event, likes to call them beloved works, published works. And yeah, we all just share queer literature, and it's a really lovely, really sweet event. And the emotional ride is usually a lot. We get happy pieces, we get sad pieces, we get sexy pieces. Sometimes there are musical interludes.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a really delightful time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that made me think of something. I was trying to think of what it was. We'll just have to edit this whole sentence out. Anyway. Oh yeah, I remember now. Do you know that theater in Oakland that has like couches for seats? It's like a movie theater, and
The New Parkway.
yeah, New Parkway.
Yeah.
I really loved that place. I used to go there all the time, especially when I was living in the East Bay. And I just, for those of you like uninformed, like the New Parkway is just like this really weird, cool, like interesting movie theater where but everything's like a little weird, like and artsy. There's like cool art everywhere in there. There's a restaurant with some interesting food, and then you go into the theater and all the chairs are couches or recliners or sofas, and so you're sitting in like a big giant comfy something or other, and there's a little bit of regular seating as well, but yeah, I went there to go see like some obscure anime and stuff, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool, like that this exists. And I think about that because I coming from North Bay originally, then East Bay for quite a while, and now living in Vegas, like a lot of people ask me like, how is it in Vegas? Like, what are the trade-offs? What's good? What's bad? And I will say, like, it's hard to find those kinds of things, like personal, intimate, interesting, artsy, groups of people. Like, I'm sure they're out there. Like, maybe I dig deeper in Vegas. I'm sure there's plenty of artsy types here, but I haven't found them. I haven't met them, and but at the same time, no one's broken my car window in years.
Well, that is a trade-off. My car has been vandalized twice this year. It's February.
You mentioned that. What's the how many times has it been vandalized, period?
Actually, I don't know what's going on this year. My car, I think we have just like, we live in a neighborhood, so people know who lives here generally, and hadn't messed with my car in like 5 years. When I first moved in, I think I had a license plate stolen and my registration sticker stolen once. And then nothing until this year. And this year, they're like, aha, got you now. Kill your false sense of security.
That's sorry. It just, that came punchy at the end. And kill yourself. Anyway, it got dark. Anyway, so yeah, it is getting to be about an hour. I don't know if it feels like it was like pulling fingernails or did it all fly by?
I had a great time. This was lovely. It was really nice even just to catch up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know what? Like we pride ourselves on having no discernible format. So like the hosts change week to week. Sometimes we interview people, sometimes we don't, and it's just like everything's random. So yeah, you're perfectly welcome to come back on, and I'd love for you to like meet the other guys. Matlock, Steven, Joe, Kevin. We have a couple regular hosts who are all really funny, interesting people who probably would have made this like a more lively episode, or a train wreck. I'm not sure. Some of them are terrible, but
I'm here for either one of those experiences. I'd love to come back.
All right, cool. Well, I'll definitely set you up with that, and I'll put you in touch with my friend as well. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time. And if there's anything you want to plug, I know you mentioned Chris Spiteri, rigged.com. Any other things you want people to know about?
That's probably the best way to find other connections to like Instagram and Facebook and all of that stuff. And I'll be performing at the end of this month at Smoke and Mirrors in San Francisco. Little feather fan burlesque piece.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, and keep eyes out for me in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know if our viewership goes that far and wide yet, but we'll definitely try. But anyway, cool. Yeah. Again, thank you. And just for everyone else out there, we are the Podcast Wreckers. And when I say we, today it is me. I am a podcast wrecker, and you can find me online at podcastwreckers.com, where you can also see this episode in video or audio format on your podcast platform of choice, or just on your phone. Who cares?